Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's StepsBasic, and welcome back to the Comfy Cozy Community Show. So, I got success. I got success to report. I asked the question of the day last week, and I technically got an answer. And I gotta thank you, the young person who left me said comment. I did go back and watch watched a little bit of the podcast. I didn't finish it because they got a series of it. What the Force podcast, where they talked about all sorts of different nerdy stuff, but in this case, they basically broke down every single episode of Willow, and fantastic. And thank you so much for the comment. Don't apologize if you ever need to ramble. I appreciate it. It shows passion. The only thing I ever ask is you don't be rude to people. And you weren't, and you were very cool. I appreciate it. And as such, I have another question of the day, which is going to be, what is your favorite bad movie? Not like so bad it's good, but like universally panned sort of movie that you enjoy watching. And today, we're going to be doing a follow-up, not a follow-up, but an extra episode, for Christ's sake, work brain. We're going to be doing a explain yourself video, where today I want to talk about Mario Brothers. I haven't addressed this one yet. I've talked about the Green Lantern, and I've talked about other stuff, and today we're asking me to explain myself as to why I like the Mario Brothers movie. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nobody liked that movie, not even the people who worked on it. In fact, Bob Hoskins is famously quoted as saying it was such a horrible movie and that he was drunk basically the entire time he did that. And I'm well aware of this. Hello, phone. Why are you blooping at me? Mario Brothers is a universally panned movie as just being bad, and everyone acknowledges that it's bad. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I still liked it. Like, I watched it. I want to say when it came out, because I think it came out like 89, 90, something like that. When did Mario Brother come out? Super Mario Brothers, 93, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, and of course Dennis Hopper. There's a lot of big names in this thing. Like, even for back in the day, they got a lot of big names. Freaking Mario by Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo. I think he was fairly fresh out in that one. I don't think that was his first movie, but like that was definitely one of his breakaway roles. Dennis Hopper. Now that's one I wasn't really expecting. Now I'm going to tell you straight up, I acknowledge the fact that, especially for when this came out, it was nothing like the video game. The video game was Mario and Luigi running through, the levels and stuff. I think at this point we had Mario 3 might have been out. I can check this too. I'm totally unprepared. Forgive me for this, but yeah. Mario 1 came out in 85. Mario The Lost Levels, 86. Mario 2, 88. Super Mario 3, 88. Mario Land. Super Mario World in 90. Super Mario World. So we were up to Super Mario Land 2 in 1992, which is a Game Boy game. So we didn't have a very in-depth, lore established. We did have up to Mario Brothers 3, which was, I think, probably one of the more in-depth lower system games. So, but we didn't really have a whole lot of lore established, because back in the day we didn't have very in-depth stories in our games, as much as we could anyway. I'm gonna move this over here so I can stop looking at it, so I can look more at you. This is why I always position this over here, so it looks more like I'm talking to you instead of looking at the other monitor. You gotta make these things feel more personable, you know what I'm saying? But yes, I acknowledge the fact that this game was nothing like the movie, and the movie was nothing like the game. But that, in part, was why I liked it, because it was kind of a different take on the genre, kind of a different take on the story. Back in those days, we had cartoon spin-offs of games. Like, I think we had the Mario animated series at that point, maybe. God, man, I don't even remember. But in a way, we look at this and it's like we knew who Princess Daisy was, we knew who Princess Peach was, because we'd seen them in the games themselves, and so we knew they existed as people. And we get Daisy out here in this movie here, and I don't think we got Peach. We didn't get Peach though. No peaches. And start to finish, it was definitely not game related, but in and of itself, it stood out as a particularly interesting sci-fi fantasy story where we had the dinosaur world and we had the human world, and it was all separated when a meteor impacted, i.e. the KT impact, the one that we're all famous, we all know it's famous for wiping out the dinosaurs. And this was an interesting story arc because it separated humans, the human development, the mammal development from the dinosaurs, and separated us all, but didn't actually remove or kill the dinosaurs. And that's a fascinating idea, because here in our world, we had the mammals evolve into what we recognize today. And over there in their world, we had lizards evolve into what they recognize. But also, there was the mushrooms, the fungus, who evolved into a more sentient species as well, where we got, they didn't actually evolve, no. What happened was King Toad, the Mushroom King, he actually got de-evolved so far back that he became essentially pond scum. He became fungus because he got de-evolved. We all know that there's no such thing as de-evolution, because evolution covers either way. It's just a change in a species over time. But for the sake of the fantasy of it all, King Mushroom got, or the Mushroom King got reverted to a mushroom by de-evolution. He got his genes spread all the way back before he was a sentient being. I said it. And this was kind of an interesting take. And then, of course, the bridge between the worlds was the impact site, the meteor site. And there was a shard that got launched into the dinosaur area, and through that shard they could cross the bridge, and they could cross into our world from their world. No. The shard didn't actually play a part in the transition, but the shard was passed down through the royal family, which is how Princess Daisy came to have it. And Daisy was dropped in our world as a baby, and she studied it and discovered the thing. And the dinosaur people, specifically King Koopa, was sending people over to our place to kidnap ladies looking for Princess Daisy. And that was the fun part. And of course, they finally get Daisy after Luigi is smitten with her, and so they call in the plumbers here, and then Daisy gets to meet Luigi. Luigi falls in love with Daisy, obviously, yada yada, and then Daisy gets kidnapped, and the Mario brothers have to go rescue Daisy, and that's how they end up in King Koopa's world, and on the wrong side of the law in King Koopa's world. And I'm going to say it straight up, if they had made this not at all related to Mario Brothers, it would have been probably more well received than it was. And honestly, I don't know why. Again, going back to my other video where I talked about people just assigning and affixing themselves to franchises just for the sake of doing it, just for the sake of the namesake. So to a degree, I understand why people do it. But we're talking about back in the 90s when it's like, is video games really that big of an idea? And they were just trying to affix things to it. Excuse me. Which was unfortunate, because I feel like this would have done much better if they hadn't tied it to the Mario Brothers world. And there were a lot of nods to the world, where we had Bob-ombs, where we had King Koopa, and we had the dinosaurs, and Toads looked nothing like the Toads from the game, by the way. They were Goombas. Toad wasn't a person. Toad was a person, not a race of mushroom people. The Goombas looked like giant lizard people instead of, the little things that we're used to. I don't think we even had Koopa Troopas. I think the closest thing in the whole story was Yoshi was a little dinosaur. A cute little dinosaur. Adorable little dinosaur. And, of course, Bob-ombs were about this big instead of, So, there were a lot of tie-ins to the video game that were nods hey, you gamers, you like these things, right? And I still liked it. It's kind of hard for me to explain why I liked it. So I can say that because I watched it divorced from its source material, as it were. Because, like I said, we didn't have a whole lot of lore established for Mario Brothers, except for, kinda what you can glean from, like, little snippets of bits and pieces here. Maybe I should do a deep dive into the actual lore of early Mario Brothers and how we discovered. Like, I can tell you this: game cases these days, they come with these little bitty things in here. Back in the day, you'd get basically a whole strategy guide in the game box, and it would tell you about, like, how to use the controls. It would give you little story backstories, little backstories. Like, I remember the Zelda one. I used to read that thing all the time. The first Final Fantasy one, I read the heck out of that story. But, maybe that's where we got all the lore established from, what we used to know. But I'm pretty sure even then, like, there was a huge divorce between the game and the story of the movie. But anyway, hijinks ensue. A couple people get evolved further, so they become really smart. I mean, they start to use bigger words, but they still act like idiots. But, anyway. But I guess smart people just use big words, and that's all that makes them smart. You know what they say. But then there was a bit of a kind of off-the-cuff romance between Mario and the lady with the jump boots, and that was cute, but obviously it was never going to work out because, he had his girlfriend back home. And then all of the hijinks ensue. They devolve friggin' Scapelli, which was a human, a bad guy in the real world who was trying to shut down Daisy's dig site. He gets devolved into a monkey, and then King Koopa ends up getting defeated by being devolved into worms. Don't know why he didn't become mushrooms, but, it was kind of fun. We had a big T-Rex moment, big CG T-Rex come out, and it was adorable. And, in the end, they actually teased the sequel, which we never got, obviously, because, they didn't really like the movie to begin with, so they're like, we'll just poop this out. And honestly, when it comes to things like that, I hate when a company, like, just poops out a story, poops out a movie, when it could have been so much better. Here, you have a movie now. Be happy with it. Because, like, at least take the time and care to make the story. But even still, like, we've all got these sorts of movies. We all got a movie that people hate. And I can tell you, like, Pluto Nash I liked Green Lantern, I liked this movie, and I'm sure other people have movies that were, like, just horrible movies, and it's like, I still liked it. It was cute. I liked it. It was good. But that's my summation. I can't really tell you why I liked it other than that I watched it divorced from any sort of source material, and overall it could have been a good story if they didn't tie it to the Mario universe. It was a good story looking at it without the idea of it being, it's not Mario. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, I think they flubbed it, but they still gave us a good movie. If they hadn't have made it Mario, it would have probably been received better. That's what I say. Of course, it's a 90s movie, so of course it probably doesn't hold up so well these days. And as such, yeah. Anyway, back to the question of the day. What's your favorite bad movie? And I don't mean so good it's bad, but like bad but accepted as good. But you like it as good even though it's bad. You know what I mean. On to announcements. Finished, finally, Spider-Man. I just finished the DLC yesterday, and so that means I can move on to Miles Morales next. I'm excited about that. All those episodes will be coming today. I have a serious backlog of Breath Edge. I have never had this much of a backlog of a game before. I am having fun with it, but if you watch me in it, it seems I'm very frustrated. And that's because, like, for instance, Saturday, when I recorded for Breath Edge, I wanted to play an hour. I just wanted to record 1 hour and get to the point where I could build bases. I didn't know what I had to do for that. So I ended up playing 4 hours until I finally looked it up. And I'm like, oh, that's what I got to do. I gotcha. And so I did that in the 4th hour. It was me learning how to build a base and then building a base. But I've been having fun with it, and it's been interesting and goofy, and there's actually a bit of a darker lore in there that I need to, see if I can get my friend to go and look into. She does deep dives on lore stuff, and I want to see if she might want to make a video on that. But that's it for announcements. That's it for the story. That's all for me. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of the Community Show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, please don't poke that like button for me. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you're more than welcome to leave a comment down in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Oh, and I can if I can. You know all that jazz. And tune in next time for another topic at another time. And until then, good night.